critical questions. We would like to know what are the achievements. And then secondly, we're also interested in the barriers. I know we haven't done introductions, so I'll request that you take 30 seconds or less to be able to introduce. And then to the audience, just to say that I am a secondary school teacher, but I've also taught in university for over 8 years. And now I work within the refugee response, managing education. And I serve as the coordinator, Education Response Plan Secretariat in the Ministry of Education and Sports. Sometimes you look at my address and it says UNHCR. That's because Ministry of Education sourced me from UNHCR to be able to support this. Thank you. And over to you, Agatha.
Good afternoon. My name is Agatha Kafko. I teach at the Department of Social Work and Social Administration at Makerere University, and I'm also a research associate at the Africhild Center at Makerere University.
If I may interrupt for a second, apologies, Dr. Caroline. Kindly take your position. Dr. Caroline Kavuma from UNITE. We are privileged to have you here. Sorry? Dr. Caroline Kavuma. Sorry? No. He is the moderator. He's the moderator. Yeah. No. It's not supposed to be. Yes, but I need her evaluation. Kindly, my apologies about inviting you late. So I'll invite the participants just quickly to say their name, then I will give the topic that you're going to address. And like Dr. Kabugo told us, we have a short time. That's also because we shall have a plenary. So we'd like to do a précis, very, very summarized response in about 2 or 3 minutes. But before we do that, kindly let's have introductions.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mujisha Mutabazi. I teach in the Department of Sociology, Anthropology, and Population Studies at Chambogo University. But I'm also a research associate with the Africhild Center at Makerere University. Thank you.
And good afternoon to you all. My name is Charles Chasanku. I teach in the Department of Foundations and Curriculum Studies, School of Education, College of Education, Makerere University. And thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex Arinitwe, and I work with the Africhild Center, Makerere, as a research coordinator, but I'm also a social worker by training. Thank you.
Thank you and greetings to you all. My name is Caroline Kavuma. Please, disclaimer, the doctorate hasn't been conferred, and I'm up to it. I teach at Chambogo University, and I work in the Department of Early Childhood Development. I thank you. But I'm also working with UNITE Secretariat, the upcoming institute everybody's waiting for.
And we're looking at evidence. We're also looking at research and then the innovations. And particularly, we want to understand what are those achievements in each of our fields of expertise. And the first speaker for about 2 or 3 minutes will be Mr. Alex Arinaitwe. Kindly share with us your learnings from the ECD 2-generation interventions amongst the refugee and host communities in Uganda.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. And I will start by quickly talking about achievements in line with the evidence, but also trying to reflect with all of us and saying that the biggest challenges that we have been having in the field of implementation is that sometimes the research and learning component is not given a lot of attention. And in the Kule Watoto project, maybe a disclaimer, Madam Moderator, is that this is a project which is still at its early stage of implementation, and it has only completed its inception phase and implementation has started. But maybe to answer your question is that research and learning is a component which has been put in this project from the beginning, and we all know that all the partners that are going to be implementing this project are going to be part of these learnings and sharings. So the Kule Watoto project will largely focus on livelihoods, but also focus on ECD. And then the research will also aim at evaluating how these programs, how these models will be implemented. But also at the beginning, we will start with collecting evidence that is already out there, trying to see what has been done, to see that we get clear evidence on the two-generation model. But also, after that, we shall again have some process evaluations, some process studies, which will include documenting, practice reflection workshops, which will be quarterly and then bi-monthly, but also having those most significant change workshops to be able to document what will be happening. And then we shall also conduct a post-test and a pre-test at the beginning and at the end of the project implementation. That is between 2023 and 2025. The whole point of doing this is to make sure that we learn together and we document together as partners, and also at the end, we use that evidence and information to see how we can also scale up to different areas, but also different other partners can adapt to what Kule Watoto will have brought on board. More about the Kule Watoto project, it's a project being run by 5 implementing partners. I know some of them are in this room, and we are all in a consortium led by International Rescue Committee and LABE. Then we have...
Alex, I am going to unfortunately interrupt a bit. I think when you flashed on the screen, so I think we'll read from there. So let's just have a summary in like 30 seconds. I know what you've shared is futuristic, looking at what is coming, but we're happy that it's going to, there's a component of community-based in that when you talked about the livelihoods. So kindly perhaps share briefly what barriers do you anticipate?
Of course, the barriers are the usual barriers, the coordination mechanisms. Those are anticipated. You know, we have a practice of this is my thing, I want to implement this, and all we have to agree on is that we have to come together and find a way of synergizing, of working together to work with the same models and try to deliver the same thing. And then also sometimes working with the refugee communities and maybe the host communities, you don't know about what is going to happen tomorrow in terms of the stability of the area or the political environment. So those are some of the barriers that we anticipate and that we are also ready to tackle.
Thank you very much, Alex. Now we will turn to Agatha and want to understand the role of social work profession in early childhood care and education, especially looking at the fact that we're looking to see ECC provision that is community-based and parent-led. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I think in the last 1.5 days, we have all appreciated how important early childhood care and education is to the holistic development of a child, and indeed the linkages between early childhood care and education and the demographic dividend, but also to development. Unfortunately, as we have also heard, it is very clear that there severe gaps in access to early childhood care and education in our country. With, I think UNICEF estimates that only 10% of children are able to access early childhood care and education. And we recognize that majority of children in the rural areas and those from poor communities are not able to access this critical service. And indeed, somebody earlier today mentioned that this service was initially conceptualized as a service for the world to do. Social work as a profession is concerned with problem solving to enable individuals, communities, families, and groups achieve holistic development, achieve their full potential, but also is concerned with prevention of dysfunction. As a profession, social workers have always been concerned with social justices and inequity, and in fact, our profession developed as a response to emerging inequities that were occasioned by changes in the world. In Uganda, the social work profession has been present since the colonial period. Predating the colonial period, families and kinship systems responded to human need, but during the colonial era, we began to see social work emerging through the work of missionaries. And the development of social work can be again traced to 1957 when we first had social work training at Symposium Institute of Social Development, and in the 1960s social work training at Makerere University. Presently we have a number of institutions providing social work training. We also have a National Association of Social Workers in Uganda. So when you look at the inequities in early childhood education and you look at a profession that is concerned with social justice, the question that emerges is, where are the social workers? Why is it that when it comes to early childhood care and education, we see the educators, the education is standing out prominently? As a social worker and as a member of the social work profession, we acknowledge that there is a key role that we can play as a professional group to actually try and bridge the inequities that are characteristic of early childhood care and education in Uganda. The presentation is not flagged, but hopefully it will be given to members. But in the presentation, based on the literature, we identify 3 core areas for social work intervention where social work can